Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci, and welcome to Candid Frank Live, where we are airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me is Aaron William Freeland. Hello, Aaron. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Frank. How are you?
Down in the mouth.
I hear you.
Yeah, not in a good place. It behooves me to say that when you feel like this, it's best to try to lay low. Anyway, let's talk about. Let's start with talking about the Canadian Football League, which will be starting tomorrow, Aaron. And I am so thrilled that the season is finally starting at BMO Field. It's excellent that it's starting with the Montreal Alouettes for a change instead of Hamilton.
No, this is
And
one of those nice games where it's something you've been anticipating for months, and now that
yeah,
it's finally here, I'm not quite 100% sure what to do with myself.
well, well, for me, I have added things that I have to do. It's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow, so she was kind enough to be okay with me going to the game, so I'm grateful for that. And so, but I don't get to skip out of buying dinner and stuff like that and doing nice stuff. So
Well, if
I'm
you know the
glad
right
for
tent
that.
to go to, though, in the parking lot for the pregame, you don't necessarily have to buy dinner. It'll all be there for you.
No, I have to buy dinner, and there's a
Oh,
specific place we got to go. She loves that fish place. What's that fish place?
I I'm not sure
Red
which one you're
Lobster.
referring to.
Red
There's a few.
Lobster. Red
Oh,
Lobster.
okay. Their cheese biscuits are fantastic.
That that fish place. She swears by it, and where we live, there is not one.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's terrible. And even worse, there's not a Burger King either. So like she's really not in a good way. Those are her two favorite foods, guilty pleasures. Kentucky Fried Chicken too, but not as much. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to celebrating her birthday tomorrow. Um, hmm, yeah, stuff happens, and I'm dealing with as everybody deals with moments um, when you feel hard done by, when you feel unlucky, when you feel there's nothing you can do to feel better. So it's a kind of depression that I've been through before. So I check my boxes and move forward and hope for the best. Sometimes in life we don't get everything we want. All we can hope for is that we get what we need. So let's move on. And one of the things I need is to talk CFL football. So tell me about the Elks and who they signed.
Well, so a couple of signings, actually a trio of roster signings. Um, Ethan McConzo has been added to the active roster. Michael Beaudry has been added to the practice roster, and linebacker Wesley Apollon has been placed on the six-game injured list. Now, McConzo, his older brother, actually plays for Edmonton. He was selected fourth overall in 2022. Beaudry will rejoin the practice roster after being released last week. And Apollon, who is 49th, was unfortunately injured in the season opener against the BC Lions last Saturday.
Absolutely. The Elks need to make some moves, obviously. Not a good start to their season. One of the more embarrassing losses, and it really was painful to be a part of, I'm sure. And who can forget the look on Coach Jones' face? The Ticats added a national player in Andrew Pickett.
So this was actually a nice pickup for them. He's been added to their practice roster. He's an offensive lineman. He played 13 games for the Red Blacks in 2021, both at center and at guard. He's 6'3", 323 pounds, and he's from Kitchener, which school. He's a local boy. Originally picked by the University of picked by the Red Blacks in the third round out of UGU, 22nd overall in 2018. But the pandemic held him out of action until last year.
Yeah, just a short time ago. Well, I'll save this for the end. The injury reports for the Ticats and the Stamps.
So Don Jackson was limited in the action that he saw. Malik Henry also missed Wednesday's practice as well. Um, there are a few other notable absences in there: Cameron Kelly, Dylan Wynn, Dane Evans, Anthony Johnson. It's There's a laundry list of Ticats that have
After
currently,
one game.
yeah, after one game. It's you almost wish they kind of had gotten all the negotiations for the CBA out of place so players could have had a full season, full training.
Wow.
But this
Yeah.
is the way it goes. But Bo Levi Mitchell is actually out with a foot injury as well.
Yeah, he had the
Uh,
walking boot after the game, and that was a
yeah,
concern for Calgary fans.
so but they'll get back to full strength eventually.
Quelle surprise! Les Alouettes trade for a running back, Walter Fletcher.
Yeah, yeah. After just one game, apparently they decided that there were some holes that needed to be filled. So they picked up Walter Fletcher from the Elks in exchange for a sixth-round draft pick in the 2023 CFL draft. Now, Fletcher actually first played with the Elks in 2021, where he had 302 yards on 67 runs and caught 22 passes for 177 yards. So he's actually being looked at currently as a depth signing. This is from
Well,
Danny
he's going to have
Macchiocia.
6 games because their number one starter is out. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Also, I received an email from the CFL announcing their week one player discipline. The Calgary Stampeders defensive back Raheem Wilson was fined for a high hit on Montreal Alouettes running back Joshua Antwi. Their Ottawa Redblacks defensive back Sherrod Baltimore was fined for a high hit on Winnipeg Blue Bombers receiver Dalton Schoen or Scone. Hamilton Tiger Cats Simone Lawrence was fined for a high hit on Saskatchewan Roughriders Cody Fajardo, and that wasn't a surprise. And part of that hit is reputation, and part of that hit is the fact that he tends to lead with his head on players who are not standing up, and that's something that I don't think the league considers a very good idea. Let's go to hockey, and so apparently Barry Trotz, a Winnipegger, a Manitoban, has been offered free beer for life if he coaches the Jets.
Now, this one I can actually get behind here. The Little
I bet
Brown
you
Jug
can.
Brewing Company. Yeah, so Little Brown Jug out of Winnipeg has partnered with a local sports talk show to put together a promotional event that would provide Trotz with free beer for life if he inks with his former hometown club. The founder, Kevin Felch, and one of his employees, James Hoffer, came up with the campaign idea in their tap room just last week. They thought, well, who
We got this
knows?
extra beer.
Yeah, we not everybody drinks all of it. I'm pretty sure some of it goes to waste because there's always overages, but I think it'd be a nice way to get rid of it.
Well, Barry Trotz looks like the type that he can handle a pint or two.
No doubt. They're also planning on building a commemorative brew in his honor as well. So there's that
Oh my
possibility as well.
goodness. Yeah. And then there's the Stanley Cup swish you can buy. How long does that take to swish beer in the Stanley Cup and then sell it as beer that it was swished in the Stanley Cup?
I'm not sure, but
Hey,
it's
what's the
Molson
system there for
Canadian,
that?
so I don't know if I'd be able to. Well, I mean, basically, they just run the water through the cup and then right into the vat, so that'll work.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the process. Guess what? The Canadians win another gold. This is the under 18 ladies.
This was fantastic. The United States had curb stomped us during the round robin 7-0.
Mhm.
So there was a bit of confidence on their side heading into it. But Peterson stopped 29 shots, including all 10 shots in the final period, and they ended up winning 3-2. It was great. Canada jumped out to a lead. And within seconds, the United States had closed the gap. I mean, as it goes in international hockey, when goals come, they come in bunches.
Yeah.
But it was good to see them
And young
finally win it.
teams too.
Oh yeah. Another additional side note here: Jerome McGinley's daughter was part of the team. So
Yeah, she didn't make it through, did she?
yeah, she played in the final
Did
game.
she? Okay.
Yeah.
She
So
got hurt or something, didn't she, earlier?
she was, but she apparently had recovered enough to play in the
Oh,
final
good
game.
for her then.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's why I had sounded a little disappointed. All right, let's talk about golf and money or the right thing to do.
Yeah, so as many of you know, and we covered this on the show on Monday, the PGA had suspended 17 or 18 players because of their decision to play in the new Saudi Live League. Um, now, Rory McIlroy said, the PGA Tour was created by people and tour players that came before us, the likes of Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. They created something and worked hard for something. And I hate to see all the players that came before us and all that work that they put into it just come out to be nothing because everybody's bailing for more money.
Mm.
Now, he didn't say bailing for more money, but that was the general impression that I got from it because the Live is offering $25 million per tournament win and contracts anywhere from $75 to $150 million. So,
You know, money is important. How much of it is always the question that I have. It's like, when I think about winning the lottery, I'm happy with winning $1 million
I've always said that I'll be content with whatever takes me out of debt. So, enough to pay off my
for
mortgage, my
life.
credit card, and my line of
For
credit.
life takes you out of
Well,
debt for life, right? Well, a
I'll be
million
happy with
dollars,
just getting out of debt for now.
$1 million will put you. It'll put you on, for people like you and I. It'll put us on easy street.
Yeah.
My old Italian mentality and your Scottish background, we could stretch $1,
Oh, we can make it work.
especially 1 million of them.
Sales, baby, sales. Sales and coupons.
There you go. All right. Other soccer news. England slumps to historic loss to Hungary. Can you believe it?
I was watching parts of this game and it was absolutely stunning. This is the worst home loss that England has suffered since 1928. They lost 4-0 to Hungary on Tuesday. So it's one of those things where you just kind of got to wonder exactly what's going on here. But yeah, they actually got booed off the field, so that's an interesting switch for them.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about this because it was disappointing, and it seems everything's bad news with the men's Canadian soccer team. They lose to Honduras 2-1 in CONCACAF Nations League's play.
Yeah, they unfortunately got caught a little bit flat-footed on this one. Now, obviously, it doesn't affect their World Cup standing or anything like that, but it does drop them lower in the CONCACAF league table. So they're currently 1-1 in group standings with only 3 points, the same as Curacao. Honduras leads with 2 wins and a loss at 6 points. So, and the problem was Honduras scored early in the 13th minute and then cemented it in the 78th. Jonathan David didn't score for Canada until the 86th minute. So, a case of too little, too late.
Sad as it is. The good news is MLS inked a historic 10-year broadcast deal with Apple,
Yeah.
exclusive streaming service.
Yeah, this is
David
a
Morascuti
deal.
talks about this with the CFL. Should do something like this.
I was thinking of that too, but I mean, it means that Apple TV will become the home of every single MLS and League Cup match for the next 10 years with no local blackouts or restrictions. Um, MLS is still negotiating with ESPN and Fox for the rights to simulcast specific matches, but the point is to have everything consolidated on Apple TV. As someone who doesn't have Apple TV, this is obviously a concern for me.
Mhm.
If I want to catch something like that, obviously I'm going to have to lay out for it, which doesn't really sit well for me. But it is the direction that they've
Only,
decided to
only,
go in.
only if you're interested in games outside your market, right? Because
Um,
TSN's always going to have, and Sportsnet are always going to have their teams broadcast. No.
Well, that is apparently the intention, and there's really no indication of that, unfortunately, in the article itself. But the idea is, and
Wow.
this has already started to overflow into NHL Live. Canadian users have been punted off that and now have to subscribe to Sportsnet Now or Sportsnet Go. So I'm
Wow.
not sure if that the same
Unless
sort of
you can
blueprint is going
watch
to
it
happen
on
here.
Sportsnet, the TV station.
And there's no indication of that here. I mean, the deal is worth $2.5 billion, so good on MLS, but there's not very much other substantive in that. I mean, and again, I think this is more for individuals that want to catch games that aren't available in the local market. So that seems to imply to me that these games would be carried on local television, but we'll have to wait and see for now.
Yeah, well, this is the biggest change since cable television and the sports networks started broadcasting NHL games, because up until then, network television over air, many people don't know what that means, but with the antenna. You can get the TV stations with the antenna and watch the games without being hooked into the cable. So you could watch Hockey Night in Canada on the CBC, and you literally did not have to be on the cable. And some might wonder, okay, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that was it. I believe it affected CFL football more than anything. When we when we consume our sports, and how we do it changes drastically. And Apple TV is a drastic change because you're
Mhm.
going from cable television. We went from over air television to cable television, now to the internet. Right, so it's getting more and more where sports leagues and networks and such can get a better stranglehold on controlling their product, right? And that allows them to profit a little more deeply, if you will.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
interesting.
it's yeah, oh, it definitely is, and it changes the sports landscape for football fans for sure.
Man, does it ever? I'll tell you. Let's talk about baseball. About Vladimir Guerrero's Jr.'s stats easily simmer to Hall of Fame dads. Yeah, well, his dad was a great player, that's for sure. But his son. No one should be surprised that he will probably eclipse his father, right?
Oh, most certainly. I think what surprised people the most is that 400 okay, this is an arbitrary number, but 403 games into his MLB career, Vladimir Guerrero Sr. had 87 home runs and an on-base percentage of 363. 403 games into his MLB career, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. has 87 home runs and an on-base percentage of 363. So they're identically
Yeah,
matched, which
yeah,
is, I mean, this bodes well.
absolutely. Great player. Well, Ryu wasn't pitching well for the Jays. Problem solved. He goes on the injured list for the season. And maybe
Yeah,
that's it for him here in Toronto.
well, it's entirely possible. I mean, Ross Atkins said that they were hopeful that there was a potential of a conservative route and weighed the pros and cons of that, but decided that at the end of the day, it was best to move forward with the surgical procedure. Now he's been on the injured list since June 2nd due to left forearm inflammation. He missed about a month with a similar issue earlier this season. His last game, June 4th, was a win over the Chicago White Sox, but he left after 4 innings. It's not an acute injury or something that required attention immediately, but it was one of rather a chronic injury to one of the ligaments in his forearm. Over time, the issue can make tightness occur along with a loss of dexterity. So Ryu might not actually be able to return in 2023 when he'll be in the final season of his $80 million 4 year contract. So that's
Yeah.
$20 million he could potentially leave on the table.
Yeah.
So,
That's too bad for him health wise.
yeah.
Deshaun Watson, he's denying more sexual misconduct claims.
Yeah, for those that are not in the know, Deshaun was abusing, apparently, allegedly abusing the team's health program and benefits program to sexually harass masseuses that were giving him massages. There are new lawsuits that have shown up, and he's denying it. But there are civil lawsuits from 24 different massage therapists that are currently proceeding against him. So it's an issue.
Obviously, a conspiracy.
Well, I don't know. 24 seems like a pattern as opposed to a conspiracy.
I would think so. I think it's a pretty safe bet.
Mm.
If it was one of those, well, anyway, Serena Williams, we just talked about injuries and we talked about problems for players. Serena Williams is trying to make a comeback at Wimbledon.
Yeah. After her early exit against Alexandra Sasnovich in Wimbledon last year, where she tore a hammy, um, she's 39 years old now. She hasn't had a championship in over 4 years, but she's decided to make a comeback to where she initially exited. So I'm actually very, very much looking forward to this. So hopefully she'll be able to make a comeback and continue her winning ways.
Just before we got on air, Aaron, um, over my news feed, Dr. Fauci has COVID.
Interesting.
He's vaccinated and double boosted. And well, the reports were that yeah, but he hardly has any symptoms. And here's the thing, folks. Once again, yes, that's right. You can still get COVID when you're vaccinated, but your visit to the hospital may not happen or will be very short. Canada drops COVID-19 travel vaccine rules, but U.S. other countries still want proof.
So everybody bleeding about the trucker convoy and all this other malarkey about it, about it no longer being necessary. Hey, guess what? You can leave the country if you want, as long as the country you're going to will accept you. And yeah, people flying within Canada or departing on international flights as of the 21st of June will no longer have to show proof of vaccination in order to board an airplane. But the only problem is you need to be able to enter the country that you're going to. So while we may have done it, unfortunately, if the country you're going to doesn't allow it, you still need to get vaccinated. So,
Which was the issue before, was you could leave Canada, but you come back, right? So now
right.
the same, every country has their own set of rules for their own reasons. And with the advent of spikes in COVID, which is it's an ebb and flow, right? What always has to happen, what you hope, Aaron, the past couple of years we've been talking about it. I guess what we could hope for, and that I would hope to have faith in people to know, that when the levels go up, we raise the level of protection. When the levels come down, we lower the levels of protection. Not when the levels of protection go, sorry, when the levels of infection go up, don't do nothing. And then it just gets worse. So at the very least, at this date and time, it's just great if for the most part people are aware of when the infection rate is higher and they show a little more care, concern, and caution. And that's all. For me, that's the way I approach it. So I think it's a good idea. It's better to be safe than sorry.
I'm with you on that one, Frank.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? BC, two dead, including alleged hostage taker who was shot by police in BC.
So this happened in Campbell River. They were called Monday to the report of a homicide at a local marina with hostages being involved. They learned the male suspect was alone, and attempts were made to negotiate with him, who police say had a weapon. Shots were fired during an interaction with the man, and unfortunately, he lost his life. The Independent Investigations Office is now investigating it, and Major Crimes is running another investigation into the murder.
Explain to me why Denmark and Canada would be having a problem in the Arctic.
Wow, this is something that's been going on for decades now. But Melanie Jolie has struck a historic deal with Denmark over a 1.3 square kilometer island in the Arctic. Jeppe Kofod signed an agreement Tuesday to divide Hans Island, which is an uninhabited rock situated between Ellesmere Island and Nunavut and Greenland. Um, Basically, what had happened would be that one country would come in and change the flag and leave a bottle of booze, and then the other country would come in and change the flag and leave a bottle of booze. Basically, it was one of the friendliest of all wars and probably one of the longest ongoing conflicts in world history. They actually called it the Whiskey War.
Yeah.
But at this point, it basically means that both Canada and Denmark will be able to fly their flags.
And the only shots taken?
1 ounce at a time.
Those are the only shots taken. That's the kind of war I like. BC actor had planned to kill Prime Minister after murdering his mother, court hears.
So this actor by the name of Ryan Grantham, if you've watched shows like Riverdale and a few others, you probably would have seen him. He shot his grandmother in the back of the head while she was playing piano in their Squamish townhouse in March of 2020. The next day, he loaded his car with 3 guns, ammunition, 12 Molotov cocktails, camping supplies, and a printed Google map with directions to Rideau Cottage, and decided he was off to murder the prime minister.
Yikes.
So, yeah.
Alberta to lift remaining COVID-19 restrictions.
So, in keeping with the other provinces and in keeping with Canada, Alberta has decided that as of 11:59 p.m. last night, mandatory masking on public transit will come to an end, as well as mandatory isolation. They've decided that we're just going to live with it. And there you have it.
Thinking